Ladies and gentlemen, when this microphone hits my mouth, you sit down, shut yours, and listen to what I have to say. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking right now, man, this isn't the episode I usually listen to. This isn't If You Give a Dad podcast. But I'm here to tell you, rest assured, this is that very, very same podcast you're used to listening. It's the same episode you know and love, but I'm here to introduce myself. You see, my name is the Showcase Alex Royal. And we just had a really good conversation covering everything pro wrestling and everything in between that I really think you're going to enjoy. And honestly, if you can't get enough of this podcast and if you can't get enough of hearing Alex Royal and everything I had to say, you can always check me out at When This Microphone Hits My Mouth on Spotify. And honestly, that's all I'm here to do is introduce myself. So if you don't like that, in true Alex Royal fashion, I have to give it to you the way I always close it. And that's if you don't like that, if anything I said didn't resonate with you, if anything I said at all didn't mean anything to you in the slightest, there's only one thing for you to do. Deal with it.
Hello, all my beautiful people. It is time once again for another amazing episode of If You Give a Dad podcast. Happy New Year, everyone. We are now officially in 2023, and this is going to be a great year. I cannot wait to see what happens with this show and what happens with all my friends that I've had on in the previous year. This week I have on with me Alex Royal. You heard him just a few minutes ago tell you that he is here and he is ready to talk, and I am excited to have him on today. I can't wait for you guys to hear this episode. I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy it as much as you have any of the other shows that I've had, because I don't have anything but awesome guests on this show, and I am very excited to bring this next awesome guest on with me as well. So if you are here just to listen to the Alex Royal episode, welcome. I hope that you enjoy what you hear, and I hope that you stick around and listen to some of the other great episodes that we have here as well. So, if you're as excited as I am, then let's get this show on the road.
If You Give a Dad podcast. Hey, Dad.
So where did you actually train at?
I made a really good career out of being able to bump, sell, and I had a punch me face.
I wasn't about to call you dad, so.
Seriously?
I felt like it was in an anime or something.
People get really mad at those videos for some reason. Like, it triggers certain people, yeah.
Wow.
I was actually lost as an infant, and I was taken in by a traveling group of independent wrestlers.
I love it. I'm excited for this stuff.
Bro.
Getting punched in the face on the daily. Do you always do these interviews with your shirt off?
What?
Man, this guy won't shut up.
Okay, before I get started, you ever had a design in mind and you wanted to put it on a shirt or a hat or a cup, but you just didn't know who to go to? Well, come on over to R&L Designs, where they make all of your custom needs come true. They make custom hats, they make custom shirts, they make custom mugs, they even do the tumblers and the glass mugs as well. They do key fobs even. They have great prices and they have a reasonable turnaround time. If you need anything custom, these are the people that you need to hit up today. You can find them on Facebook, and that is at R&L Designs. You can also find them on Instagram at R&L Designs 19. They have a Facebook page. They have an Instagram page. They update it regularly with new products. You can also message them if you have something in mind. Hit them up today for all of your custom needs. Give them a like, give them a follow. All right, everybody. So today I have with me a Oklahoma-based wrestler. He also has his own podcast that I've actually been really enjoying. I got to catch up on the other episodes that he did today, and the one with JD was amazing. And the show that I'm talking about is called When This Microphone Hits My Mouth, with Alex Royal, and I have him on today. I'm very excited to talk with him. Man, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. It's I definitely appreciate the plug. Any good pro wrestler selling gimmicks or peddling merchandise or their business or anything, I always appreciate it's a good plug. So thanks for that.
Yeah, for sure. I actually just I kind of listened to your episodes a little out of order. I listened to the Luke Langley episode. I believe it was yesterday is when I listened to that one, and then I listened to the JD episode today. And it's a lot of fun. I love hearing the stories between you and your guests and everything like that, and gets me really amped up and everything, because I'm like, man, yeah, I could hear myself just talking in the middle of that conversation as well. And I know that you had said that you did this to because you had these conversations with these people, and you'd be like, man, people would love to hear this.
Yeah, man, we're always when you're in a wrestling locker room, I don't know if you've ever been backstage, but it's basically just a giant, storytelling. And,
Right.
When you're waiting before your match, there could be stories about the most craziest thing you could think of. There could be stories about last weekend, stories about you coming up. And when we first started, myself and John Cross, I don't know if you know him, but we started a podcast called What Can You Offer? And it was very much like, let's just take everything we do behind the microphone, put it in front of the microphone, and see if people listen. And that's kind of my thing with when this microphone hits your mouth. Just kind of take a little bit of that with a little bit of a documentary type, and really just talk, man, and have a good time with the guest.
Right on. I actually, the first wrestling guest that I had on the show was Luke Langley. And I believe that I listened to the episode that you guys did in the car after a show as part of my research to have him on the show.
That's so cool, man.
It's funny how
That's
things
awesome.
kind of come around, because now I've got you on the show. And at the time, I was brand new to independent wrestling in the area. I didn't know anything about it. I went to one show in Bentonville, and I was like, man, these guys are really cool. And so I was just starting out to do my podcast. And so I asked him, I just sent him a message, be like, would you be willing to come on my show? And he's like, yeah, sure. So, and now I've got you on here after all this time. So this is really cool.
That's cool, man. I listened to the podcast you did with Tim. I thought that was really good. Tim also had sent me a clip. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I put you over. You gotta check this out." So that was cool. And then Luke, it's like, I've always been a big fan of Luke. Luke actually, I left wrestling for 10 months, and I was fully prepared for Luke to be like my final match ever. I was very happy with the main event title match we had last October.
Yeah.
And he and I just struck up a really good friendship, man. And I was able to sit down and podcast with him. And like I said on mine, but I'll say it again, it's like Luke is such an in-depth thinker and talker to where if you're just, if you ask him a question, you're going to get a very detailed answer. It's not just lip service. Like he actually takes time to give you a detailed breakdown of everything you ask him. And I always appreciate that. He's one of the most, he was the smartest guys I know, and one of the most well thought out guys I know. And it's always a pleasure to talk with that guy because he oozes information and wrestling and story and all the above.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing when you had him on there was something that you said about how when it would come to him talking about like a match that you had, and he would break it down and he'd be like, well, this was good, but try doing this, and he's good at coaching people. And he kind of did that with me when I did the show with him. Cause like I said, he was the very first ever wrestler I had on my show. And he was like, okay, so what you did was good. That was a good episode. I had a lot of fun, but next time, maybe don't focus on this and, maybe talk about this a little more, because I think this is what people are going to enjoy. And he was right, and he actually helped me out a lot. And it's, helped me to progress this show because of the advice that he gave me there in the beginning.
That's very cool, man. We just started talking, and I would have never thought that my favorite part of that episode would be him talking about making the Dairy Queen ice cream swirl. You know what I mean? It's like the stuff, Luke Langley, I don't know if you can cuss on this, but like a badass, like that's who he is. And he, you look at that guy and the first thing that comes to mind isn't, I bet this guy knows how to make a really good Dairy Queen swirl, So it was a really cool story, man. And I would have never known that if we didn't sit down and pod. So, that's the stuff I love, man. Peeling back the layers. I'm a pro wrestler. I'm a storyteller at heart, so I like talking stories and peeling back layers, man, because that's what I am, man. I'm just an onion. Want to go layer by layer, story by story, and that's why I love podcasting, talking, and all this good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. So I actually haven't got to see you wrestle in person yet. I
Okay.
hope to do that soon. There was a show that I think that you were supposed to be at, but something came up and you weren't able to make it, and you were going to wrestle Justin Lee.
Yes.
So, so I'd been hearing about you, and plus with the show that I had done with Tim, I thought it was funny because he kept talking about how he would love to see you wrestle again and he'd love to wrestle you again. And then I think it was less than a month later, you were coming back to the ring, and I was like, okay, yeah, I know why he was saying that now and everything. So I'm very excited to get to see you wrestle here in the future.
Yeah, man, we'll have to pick you out a good one to come see, really pick one of those matches. I actually had a match with Justin Lee this last weekend that I was really happy with. He and I went on second, went about 12 to 15. And, it was good, for being a semi new venue and, a Christmas show. I thought it was great. I thought we had a really good showing.
Yeah. I heard great things about it. I'm really liking the heel character that Justin Lee is doing right now. It's a lot of fun, and he plays it so well.
He does a good job. He does a good job of riding that line between, it's like, there's a little bit of anti-hero in there.
Yeah.
But it's not like, it's super heel, like towards the boys. It's not quite super heel on the fans just yet. But as long as it progresses that way, I think it's going to be, a top-notch character. For sure. So kind of switching things over here a little bit. What actually got you into wrestling? Okay, man. So, I'll just start at the beginning. When I was a kid, Power Rangers was my jam. It's what I was all about.
Yeah.
And when you're first, second grade, that's about the time like Attitude Era is real hot. So you can't go anywhere without seeing, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, all the good stuff.
Right.
And my parents weren't necessarily like, they didn't shelter me. Like a lot of kids back in the days, like their parents wouldn't let them watch it for how graphic it was. My parents didn't really shelter me. So like I was able to, pick up and watch really anything I wanted, with certain parameters. And I remember like yesterday I was talking about how much I was into wrestling. My friends were talking about it, but I'd never actually seen a show. I've just seen toys and we've talked about it. And I'm probably in first, second grade. Somewhere like that. And my aunt is like, calls my mom and is like, hey, I'm getting a pay-per-view. I was like, well, what's a pay-per-view? And it's like, well, if you come over, to the house, you sit and you watch it and you blah, blah, blah. And I remember I was in this den and the pay-per-view had already started when we got there. And I was like glued to this cushion. And the first ever wrestling scene I ever laid eyes on was the promo. And it's not even a crazy promo, but it was in the middle of a pay-per-view, Chris Jericho and Road Dogg in the middle of the ring going back and forth on the mic. And it's like, I don't remember. I can't even tell you what pay-per-view it was. I can't tell you what year it was, but I know that was my first wrestling memory. And it made me immediately think like, man, like, I love this stuff. Yeah. And that's kind of what got me, on the path of like, hey, man, one day I might want to give this a go. As much as you can take that in being, a first and second grader. So,
right. Well, and those two are great on the mic. So I imagine, it was super entertaining. And so it's going to grab you right out of the gate. I'm a huge Chris Jericho fan. And that dude knows how to talk.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled a lot of inspiration over my 8-9 years from Chris Jericho, like little subtle things like, how to position your hands while cutting a promo, how to pause in between words, like the name of my podcast, when this microphone hits my mouth, you sit down, shut your words, listen to what I have to say. Right. That is a promo. So it's like, that's for years as a heel character, I would cut my promo and I would start it with that, just like how Lance Storm would start with, if I could be serious for a moment, or Scott Hall would start with, hey, yo, that kind of became my thing. And the pauses in that came from Chris Jericho, from when he used to say, I'm the best in the world at what I do. And he would pause in there and make the audience hang on every word. So when I started using that, I was pausing, making them hang on every word. So, dude, I pulled stuff from Jericho from the time I was in first grade to, just last weekend. So I'm a huge Jericho guy as well.
Man, and I think that time period, whenever he was doing the best in the world, that's probably one of my favorite heel moments for him, is during that, whenever he had the run where he did the Shawn Michaels feud and all of that. I think that was probably my favorite, when he hit his stride, in my opinion.
Yeah, when he abandoned the standard typical Y2J and kind of rebranded himself. I think he was great before, but he's even been on record saying that, he felt like his career was like, just idling in the water until that character hit, and then it kind of just, he became the guy that, oh, Jericho's the guy that reinvents himself, you know, and then he just kept rolling with that. So
yeah, for sure.
Love Jericho, man. Huge inspiration for me.
So what would you say some of your inspirations are when it comes to your I know you said when it comes to the way that you do your promos and things like that, but when it comes to your wrestling style, who would you say that you draw inspiration from?
It's hard to sit back and, you know, not give credit to Shawn Michaels, you know, and I know that's like a popular answer amongst, you know, every other 31-year-old man right now, but it's the truth, man. Like, you know, I talk about those stories about seeing X-Pac and Road Dogg, and that's all a great time in wrestling. But all it took was me walking to a garage sale and finding a WrestleMania 14 VHS and seeing Shawn Michaels for the first time to realize, like, that's my dude, and realize, like, that's what I want to be. Like, the Showcase, the name is very much just a play off of the Showstopper. It's like I was a big Shawn Michaels guy, and my style, it's like, you know, I throw the super kick in there for him. If I ever do a table bump to the outside, it's always an elbow drop in homage of Shawn. So I'd say a lot of my style is like very much like, a lot of it is Chris Jericho selling. I try to pick up stuff from not just, you know, names, but like from people that I've worked and things that I like. Like, my punches are very much like, I took those from Drake Gallows. I don't know if you know who that is, but I wrestled him, and you know, like, and he threw these beautiful punches to where, like, they were so vicious, but when they delivered, like, they didn't really, you know, knock you so hard. So, and I noticed he would open up his hand at the very end. So I was like, okay, well, if I take that, and then I take, you know, I wrestled Trevor Murdoch, and Trevor Murdoch was like, it's all about the cockback and the punch instead of the delivery. So then I was like, well, I'll take Drake's delivery with Trevor Murdoch's cockback. And then 9 times out of 10, when I get, you know, praise for something I do, it's my punch. Like, it's not the cool stuff in the corner, it's the punch, you know, that they love. So I would say it's a blend of that style, and not to go too like deep on all this. I'm not trying to go like too philosophical here or anything.
You're good, man.
You know, the punches, the kicks, you know, John Cross is a really good friend of mine, and you know, I was able to be managed by him for a couple of years. So when you have 2 years straight of a guy that you look up to on the indie scene critiquing every move you make, you're gonna you know, adopt things that he did. So it's a blend of all that, man. It's a little work. My promo style is a little Tim and Jericho. My work style is a little John Cross and Shawn, and you compile that together and you get Alex Royal.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I do love hearing your promos and stuff that you've done, like over Facebook and things like that. You know, it's very entertaining, and I've loved the back and forth that I've seen. Most of what I've seen lately has been the ones between you and Justin Lee, and they've all been wonderful. I think I've shared quite a few of them on my podcast page. In fact, you know, to kind of try to help hype people up for what's going on, because, you know, the more people that get involved in this, the better. So yeah, your promos have been killer. I've really enjoyed seeing that.
Thanks, man. I've actually gone on record before of saying, like, you know, I have full confidence in my wrestling style, but my character is built off the promo. And, you know, promo is the one thing that, you know, I'm so confident in, that I truly do feel confident in standing across the ring from anybody with a microphone. I just feel like I have the gift of gab, to where I have just, you know, rounds in the chamber, and like, I'm ready to go. And that's always kind of been a strength of mine. And maybe it's, you know, from shoot business, like talking so much, but I've always said, like, I'm 60% promo, 40% wrestler. It's because, you know, whenever I was, you know, making my name in Oklahoma and having, you know, my biggest runs, it was as a heel. And when you're a heel, you sell the match with your mouth, you know, and then when you lose, you talk, you know, trash with your mouth. And you know, you know, I really liked that era of me. So I do appreciate the promo talk, because Justin is the first person since I've been back that I've been able to get into a promo battle with. So it's like, everything else has been just promos to hype a show, less of being able to have that work shoot style of really kind of digging deep and peeling back some layers.
Right. Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing what else you have in the future. Do you, so I know that you just came back. You said a 10-month hiatus, correct?
Yes, I did.
What is your goal for the future with wrestling? Do you have a certain goal in mind of what you want to do?
Well, when I got in the business, I got in because I wanted to make it, you know what I mean? And then, you know, time flies by. Next thing you know, your 20s are gone.
Right.
And I'm not going to be a guy that sits here and says, hey, if you hit 30 years old, give up because you're not going to make it. Like, that's definitely not my case. but I'm blessed in my personal life to be able to, you know, own a few businesses and, you know, be fairly successful in personal life, to where it's like I don't have that gene in me personally that's willing to travel for weeks and weeks at a time in hopes of making money when I have like a really good at home life that does make me good money. So it's like I like to love wrestling like where I'm at. That's why I wanted to give back with, like, you know, we did like an OKX event. Like I wanted to show like how Oklahoma wrestling could be a big deal. So to answer your question, you know, mostly it's just local stuff, man. And where I see myself going now, 31 years old, I would say I'm probably, and I've told this to Tim, so it's no secret, I'm very much on an expiration date. It's very much like a 2-year expiration date from October. And I had it in my mind when I came back, because I got the itch. I got the itch when Tim asked me to come back for a tag team tournament. And I was so happy with my run from the time of me being, you know, 22 years old to 30 as a heel and being, you know, top heel in the state for a long time. It's like, I was really happy with that. And I didn't really want to tarnish that, but I knew the only place for me to go that I haven't been yet would be as a babyface. And it's like, I would really have to prove it to myself. Like, okay, you're most hated for 6 years in a row. And I understand it's, you know, it's fan voted awards. It is what it is, but you're most hated. Can you be loved after being hated for so long?
Yeah.
You know, and the old wrestling adage is like, you know, they gotta hate you before they can love you.
Right.
And I came back, and, you know, it was a great reaction after 10 months. And I told myself right there that the next 2 years are going to be fanfare. So like a lot of things I say in my promos, like when I say work, shoot, it's a work because it's a story, but it's a shoot because most of the stuff I'm saying is real. So when I came back, it was strictly for fanfare. It was, you know, truly was to tag with Tim, to have a good time with JD and have some STF matches and just, you know, have fun with some of the younger guys that are coming up. And then it's morphed now into like, okay, well, it's getting more serious. Programs are a little bigger. Now it's all about performing. So my sole goal for the next 2 years is to give a top-notch performance with everybody I work, to never have a moment to where it's, hey, I'm going to phone it in, and truly just be me, man. And like, if I give a promo, it's going to be the best promo I can cut. And if it's going to be, you know, a match, it's going to be the best possible match I can give, whether it's 15, 20 or 5 minutes. And that's a shoot, bro. That's exactly like how I feel. And that's how I approach shows. And that's how I convey it to everyone I work, man. So I know it's a long way to answer your question, but that's the truth.
Man, I love it. You know, I like the long answers, the detailed answers, because, you know, it just gives everybody that chance to get to see and know you a little better. And it kind of gives a little deeper respect because it's a thought out answer. It's not just, you know, well, I don't know, you know, you've actually put thought into what you're doing here. And I can greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Cool. It's very Eric Bischoff-esque. You ask one question, and I go down the rabbit hole. And next thing you know, an hour's gone by.
Well, I mean, we both got into podcasting because we like to talk. So, you know, that's okay.
For sure, man.
So do you now that you've been doing face as well, do you prefer to work heel or do you prefer to work face?
I'm very much enjoying my current run. I think my character works. My character, let's put it this way. My character works really well where I'm at because I was a prime heel for so long. So I can kind of ride the line and be that rock heel where it's like, I could be the guy that didn't really change much of me. Because that was a big thing when I came back, is like, I didn't want to just negate the character I built and the style I built and the money guy and the flashiness and everything. And I kind of wanted to gamble and be like, well, I'm still going to be that guy, but I'll just be that guy. And instead of trashing the audience, I'll trash my opponent. So now when I say things like, you know, if instead of saying to the fans, when this microphone hits my mouth, sit down, shut your words, listen to what I have to say, which would always garner boos. Now I will let the babyface cut a promo on me, and very much like The Rock, how he will cut him off with, it doesn't matter. I'll cut him off with, I'll put my hand up at the mic and then I'll say, win this microphone, and then the fans just eat it up. So I'm very much enjoying the babyface run, but my character is tailor-made for being a heel. So if you were to take me and just pick me up like a little claw machine and drop me in Texas or drop me in, you know, Tennessee or somewhere like that, no doubt I have to be a heel. Like, I mean, because there's no build up behind me to justify why a guy that's wearing $500 glasses and full custom gear and sparkly boots and jacket should be cheered, you know? So, but no, I'm very much enjoying right now though. I'm not hating any of it.
Right. So where all have you actually wrestled?
I wrestle. It's all mostly out of Oklahoma. I've done the Arkansas shows. I've done Texas shows, Tennessee shows. That's generally it, man. I mean, I'm like I said, for the last 9 years, I've 8 of those years I've been a business owner here in Oklahoma. Right. So it's like I'm pretty tied down Monday through Friday and a lot of Saturdays. So
I got you.
For me to be able to get away, it's got to be within driving distance that I can get back very quickly to open up.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of Oklahoma, man. I'll wrestle. There was a time there it was like 4 weekends a month, and it was just in Oklahoma, and then it'd be the occasional Arkansas date, and then the occasional Texas date. And, but yeah, I'm totally looking to do some out of state bookings, and I've been offered. It's just a matter of me taking them.
Right.
Before this expiration date's up, it's stuff I want to have under my belt. That way, when I'm done, it's like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I did that stuff I wanted to do.
That's cool. Yeah, I understand that. I have a everyday job as well. I don't just do the podcast here. So I try to stay close to home, and I also have, kids. So it's really nice whenever I do get to go to wrestling shows that are near me and stuff. I haven't got to go to a WFC show yet, or a mid-state show even. And my goal was to try to go to one of each before the end of this year. It didn't really work out, but I am for sure going to be at one of both of those in the next year. I know that we've got some other ones that are in this area now as well. We've got Ozark Mountain Wrestling, who is right in my backyard. Like, I think their next show is probably going to be like 5-10 minutes from my house. And then we have Diamond State Wrestling, which is going to be in Springdale, and that's 15 minutes from my house. So I'm going to have stuff here as well. So I'm very excited about that. But when you say that you try to stick close to home because, you do have other priorities that you have to take care of, well, I totally get that.
Yeah, man. And at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to use that too much of a crutch, because a lot of it is me just staying in my own little pond.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's like, they'll look at that as like, well, if you want to say you're good and you want to say you can do this, it's like you need to get out and travel. And I agree with that. But I also don't care. So it's like I'm like, well, I'm happy in my little pond. I'll water my garden and make it better where I'm at. And if I open it up to where I want to go to Arkansas, for a Saturday, like, I can do that. I'm more of talking like, I'm not about to catch a plane somewhere that could delay me and miss me from opening my business on Monday or Tuesday. So,
right.
But no, man, I mean, all the people that are traveling, more power to them. One of my good buddies, Sam Stackhouse, like literally the match
he's all over the place.
He is. And we wrestled the Summer Sizzler WFC in 2019, I believe. And that was the match that he went viral. Like, he went over the top rope.
Okay, so that was you that he was wrestling. Okay.
That was me. Yes.
Okay.
So if you ever watch that match back, that's me. And he went viral on it. And I tell him all the time, because I told him, I was like, man, I go, that was a cool spot, because my original idea for that was like, when I laid the match out, I said, hey, I got this table. I want you to get on the apron and put your hands across your chest and trust fall and go through the table. Because I thought it would just be a very comedy style bump, but it'd also be vicious.
Right.
And he's the one that threw in, no, let me run and dive over it. And I was like, okay, cool. My only regret in that whole match is that I wasn't the one to take the bump, because, I would have been a part of the viral stuff. But also, we had another bump planned that was going to be vicious for me. And we were so jazzed up from the reaction to that spot, we both just completely forgot about it. So it's like we just went straight to the finish, and like, come to find out, like, I didn't really take that much damage. But man, that spot is awesome. But that match is in my top 3. Like, you watch the match beginning to finish, it's great. But what I was getting at is my buddy Sam watered the pond. Like I'm talking about, he watered his garden and worked in his own pond.
Yeah.
And he did it for years, and all it took was one move. And then bam, he's viral. Next thing you know, he's TikTok famous. Next thing you know, he's getting booked for GCW. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, man. I love Sam Stackhouse.
For sure.
He's one of my better friends. And if anyone listens to that, I'm super happy for him. I just believe there is ways to love wrestling locally as well. That's just my opinion.
Well, and my thing is this: if you're happy with what you're doing, there's no need to change it. Because like you said, you've been around, you've done this, you were happy with the run that you had up into 21, and so this now is just you having a good time. So just have a good time, and that's all that really matters in part is, are you happy with what you're doing?
Exactly. Are you happy? Are you entertaining the fans? Are they happy to see you? Or are they buying a ticket to see you? And it's 100% Tim's fault. That's the truth. It's Tim's fault, because I was so content, man. I had stopped going to shows. I was checked out. I was mentally healthier and happier than I have been, because wrestling, man, if you're around it long enough, it can be a cesspool of negativity.
Yes.
And it just drains you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was to the point to where it's like, I was out of shape, and I was champion of a company I've worked for 9 years. I've worked hard to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like I was giving my best performances. Although I look back on the matches, I'm happy. It's like I wasn't in the shape I wanted to be in. So What happened was I got in shape, and then Tim hit me up with an offer I couldn't refuse to do this benefit tag team tournament with my best friend JD. Mm-hmm. And if you keep listening to the part 3 and 4 of our podcast, you'll get to hear how we ended up becoming a top tag team in Oklahoma, and stuck to our storyline. And he's like, man, first time in 5 years, STF returns to WFC. And I was like, man, like I can't pass that up, and then
right.
So I'm in better shape, and I go to the show, and I have a blast, which is a top 10 wrestling memory for me. And in that moment, I was like, all right, I got some more of this in me. So it's Tim's fault for getting me back in there, for real.
Tim's a good guy, though.
Like, for real, I was content. So.
Yeah. Tim, he's one of those guys that I can see he gets you hyped up. He's good at doing that, and he's a good guy. I've talked to him, quite a few times, and like I said, whenever I had him on the show, and he mentioned you more than once, and after about the second or third time, I was like, is he trying to tell me something without telling me something?
It's funny. Tim's a good dude, man. Tim's always been really fair to me,
right?
And he's been fair to me from the time I stepped into WFC, and regardless of if other people have their issues with Tim, or they're booking with Tim, or whatever, and
mm-hmm.
However that goes, like he's always been fair to me, man, and
right.
He's always been the kind of guy, if you're loyal and you show him respect, he shows it back. And I can't speak for everyone. Everyone's got to have their own, relationship and own interpretation.
Right.
But all I can say is the 9 years I've had with Tim, he's always been really cool to me. He's always been really cool to my family.
Yeah.
That's all you can judge a person on. And I would consider Tim a really good friend. And he's right up there with, Tim, John, JD, Sam, Riker, like, Luke. They're all in that wrestling circle that I would call brothers. So Tommy Dean's definitely in there.
Yes. I look forward to having him on. He had something that came up. I was actually supposed to record with him last night, and at the last minute he was like, is there any way we can do this some other time? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Things come up.
Well, you saw his Facebook, right?
I did see his Facebook. Yeah, I told him congratulations on that.
He just popped an engagement and then canceled the podcast, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all good. He had other things that came up, and I told him,
if he has a kid in 9 months, then I guess we know why.
Well, the reason why I messaged him out of the blue, I had Red James on. I don't know if you've had very much interaction with him or not.
I know Red. Yeah, I've had conversations with Red, another person to where every conversation I've had with him has been positive. Like
yes.
We've every time I talked to him and trained with him a little bit, like. He's a good dude, man. I'll tell you a story about Red real quick. When I first met him, it was when I first met Red was right after I finished the Luke Langley match, my last match, right?
Okay.
So I'm already mentally on the way out. I think I just filmed my video of like leaving my boots and dramatically walking away, and they were sweeping up the gym, and there was this hot dog that somebody dropped in this dirty ass pile of rubbish. And I have a habit, over the years. I've been known as the kind of guy to rib people or to offer money, very much play the Alex Royal character to see like gross or stupid things happen. Like I'd be like, oh, well, spray baby powder. I got Ron Reed. If you know him, I told him, I said, spray baby powder on Tim, and give you $10. And he sprayed baby powder on him, and Tim almost shot on him. Like he was angry, and Tim black singlet. So anyway, Red is there's this pile, and there's this full hot dog wiener just floating around in this dust. And Tim's standing there, and we're all standing there. I said, dude, I'll give you $10 if you eat that wiener. Oh, no. And he picked it up out of the pile, dude, and he ate it, and I paid him up. And dude, like, that was my first time meeting Red. And I was like, all right, this dude's cool. Every experience we've had has been fine. So
yeah, he's
cool dude.
He is definitely a cool dude. To be honest, I can't remember where I was going with this.
You tell a wiener joke, bro. I mean, it just kind of happens. You know, you kind of lose train of thought.
You lose where you're going with it. Shoot, what was it? I don't remember now. Anyways, but yeah, I've had him on the show as well, and he had some really cool stories to talk about, and he even had a few ribs to tell me after I got him off of there, you know, that he probably didn't want aired on the show and everything. So I've enjoyed talking with him for sure.
I mean, I'll throw a couple of ribs out there that you can air. I don't really care about.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. So here's one. One of my better friends, which his name's Haskell. He worked under the name Reed. He was actually my comeback program.
Okay.
He's on hiatus from wrestling, but he came up with me. So it's like under my tree, it's like John and Tim very much like brought me in and like taught me the ropes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But under my tree of people I brought in, Reed's in there, and so is Coco. So it's like Reed is one of the guys like I kind of helped along the way, took him under my wing. He was my security. Then he was like, you know, stood on his own. Then he was in the group with me, and then I left and he took over the group. And so Reed's always been like the young boy in the group, you know, up until like the last year.
Yeah.
And when you go to a wrestling show, you know, not all the times are there bathrooms, you know, to where you can easily get to, you know, most of the time you got to walk through the crowd. And then at that point, it's like, it doesn't really make you look like too big of a deal. I know most people don't care, but you know, you're a larger than life person to some of these people, and you're just mingling through, going to the same bathroom as them. It's kind of strange, at least in my eyes. So if there's not a bathroom in the back, you got to figure it out. Most people just pee outside or next to a car or whatever. But Reed, we would always pee in like a bottle. Like we'd pee in these bottles. And then at night when it was like about ready to go home, we'd slip them into his bag. And then he'd get home and he'd be unpacking his bag, and there's these random piss bottles in there. Another one, it's funny. Another one, my most recent one is I grabbed these they make laxatives in the weirdest looking form now. So it's like now they look like Skittles.
Okay.
You know? So I grabbed this thing of laxatives, and we're at a wrestling show, and Tommy Dean, Wesley Crane, Reed, and myself are all sitting outside. There's a thing I do at these venues when they have a small backstage. I call it the mobile locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And I pull up the car backstage, and I pop the trunk, and we pull out lawn chairs, and that's our locker room. We're outside.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, you guys want some, you know, nitric oxide for vascularity support? They're like, sure. And I flipped them all one of these little Skittles looking things, and they start chewing. And like the only person I stopped was Wes, because he's crazy enough that, like, you know, I don't know what'll happen. But Tommy and Reed start chewing these. I'm like, they're pretty good, huh? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, they're laxatives. And this is like pre-main event. So it's like they were pissed, but man, it was a fun rib.
That's great. I like that. So I do remember now what I was going to say when it comes to Tommy Dean and Red. So the reason why I contacted Tommy Dean is because when I had Red on the show, he kept talking about how he was so ticked off about how big of an anime fan that Tommy Dean is.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, now I know I have to have him on the show because we'd have plenty to talk about. And so I just sent him a message, and I was like, dude, Red was talking all kinds of crap about how you like anime, and I think you'd be great on my show. What do you think? And he was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to come on. So it was just because of Red, you know, talking smack on him about it. And so now every once in a while I'll send him like a GIF or something like that of some anime that I'm watching, you know, just to get a rise out of Red.
That's right up Tommy's alley too.
Yeah. So what kind of hobbies do you have?
Hobbies, man. I mean, wrestling, you know, wrestling's a major one. It has been for years. I was in the collecting game. I was like trying to collect like different, you know, WWE toys and stuff in my 10 months off. And
yeah,
I just ended up getting a lot of toys that are just on my wall for no reason. That's like, why do I have these? So actually just last night I boxed up like 15 of them. I took them up to my business, and I'm just going to pass them out to the kids and stuff that, you know,
Oh, right
my
on.
Christmas gifts. So I keep the ones that I like. I like having some of the '90s ones because they're nostalgic, and
Right.
I got like Dexter's my favorite TV show of all time. So it's like I got
Great
my
show.
Dexter toy. I got a Dexter action figure up on the wall. That's pretty cool. And then all my Cody Rhodes and all that stuff. So I like watching football, man. I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy.
Okay.
I followed his career. If you get a chance to listen to my Blitz pod that comes out a week after New Year, I actually give like a 15-minute tirade on that. So that's pretty cool. But I would say the only thing that rivals wrestling is slow pitch softball for me.
Okay.
And mostly that comes from, I was, anyone that ever listens to, the full breakdown I just did on my podcast, but I was a baseball player through school, and I had a couple of scholarship offers, and JD and I wanted to be wrestlers so bad. I turned those down because we had it in our head we were going to make it in wrestling.
Oh, wow.
So it's like whenever, wrestling flamed out the first go round when I was 18, it's like, well, scholarship's gone. I'm just working. Wrestling is not happening. And the closest equivalent is like playing slow pitch softball. And very quickly we were able to, at least Jeremy doesn't play. I was able to kind of rise the ranks in softball, similar to like people doing wrestling.
Okay.
And, next thing I know, I was traveling every weekend to play ball, like, a tournament every other weekend in Arkansas. We'd go to St. Louis, we'd fly to Panama City, we would be in Texas and, Louisiana, just playing all these tournaments. And next thing you know, like we were sponsored by Pinnacle, a golf brand, and, hats, bats, gloves, jerseys, food, vouchers, everything was just covered for playing softball, which was awesome, which was a big reason why when I got back into wrestling, it was very tough to leave that behind.
Right.
So yeah, that was a huge hobby of mine. Wrestling kind of took off. And then during my hiatus last year, I picked up softball again, started playing a lot. And then next thing I know, I'm missing wrestling and I'm wrestling again. And then now I'm balancing, business, softball, wrestling, and family. Something's got to give. So at least for the next 2 years, it's going to be softball. So back to just being a pro wrestler.
Yeah, that's a busy schedule.
Too busy, man. I'm telling you, my wife tells me all the time that I overcommit. Like I commit to stuff and then I forget. And that's honestly, like, that's the reason why that's the reason why I text you 2 months ago and was like, hey, I got to reschedule our podcast. And you're like, dude, it's not even until December.
Right.
I'm like, all right, man, cool. Because I'm so like, I'm just now learning to like use my calendar efficiently. And my calendar is like so much stuff on it. Like I get stuff fumbled. So like I had it in my head. We were potting that Monday.
Yeah.
So, and the next thing you know, you're like, bro, you're good. You got 2 months.
Yeah. Well, and I've even went as far as to now I have to color code my calendar because I've got so much stuff on there. I forget if I don't. I had Iceman Howard Moritz on the show. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I took the day off from work whenever I had him on. And if I didn't have my calendar remind me 15 minutes before, I would have totally forgot because I was just chilling, in the living room with my wife. We were just having a good time talking, and yeah, like right now,
it happens, man.
Yeah. Right now I have a notepad in front of me and it has a list of questions and things like that to ask. And I've got a pen here. And as we're talking, I'm writing down single words and stuff like that to remind me of what I'm wanting to ask and stuff, because I'm 34. I know that's not that old, but I'm getting forgetful. So,
dude, I totally feel you. Like I will literally set a reminder on my phone for the next day to get like laundry detergent. I'll be like 1 o'clock. I'll be like 1 o'clock, get laundry detergent, because honestly, like my head will be everywhere. Yeah. And then I will forget to do something. Like something will be forgotten, so it's just it's a gift and a curse of being busy.
Yeah. I am the exact same way. So I know there was a few things that you mentioned on one of your episodes, and it kind of got me excited because we have a lot of the same tastes when it comes to TV shows. I know that you talked about Dexter. Dexter is by far one of my favorite TV shows as well. I wasn't as big a fan of the new series that came out. I didn't watch it all the way through though. So
the remake of Dexter, like I say remake, the continuation.
Yeah. I watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes of it and I was kind of like, I don't know. I need to go back and finish it. But what was your take on that? Did you like the continuation?
I would definitely say go finish it because there is a pretty exclamation point ending on there that you need to see.
Okay.
I also think that there's like smoke and mirrors in there to where like, they could always figure something out to continue if they wanted to. But the original series is my favorite. I think the season with John Lithgow, I believe is his name, that plays the Trinity Killer, is the greatest season of any TV show ever made. Like that's like, I really do believe that. And so 1 through 4, I love. Once it gets to the point to where like, Deb knows, then like the mystique is kind of gone.
Right.
Then it gets a little sticky towards the end. They're introducing new characters and, she kind of loses her roots of like who she is. And, I don't know. It got a little weird. Then it had like notoriously one of the worst endings in the history of television shows, right? Yeah. And I think that's the only reason why they did the continuation, because there was so much hate for so many years.
Right.
And, maybe Michael C. Hall's career didn't blossom like he thought it would after Dexter. Because there's interviews of him being like, I will never be Dexter again, of him saying that. And then next thing you know, it's like, well, I'm not doing anything anymore, so let's be Dexter again. And so it was good. I appreciated that they stuck to the story of like, he moved, he went under a different name. They, kind of played off how it ended with the lumberjack scene. So when I was a heel, I would always bill myself from, and now Alex Royal from anywhere but here is what I would always say, because it would get, a reaction. Yeah. When I came back, I was like, well, I can't be a good guy and be billed from anywhere but here. So it's like, but I don't want to be the guy in Oklahoma billing myself from Oklahoma. It's just weird.
Right.
So I was like, man, I like Dexter. Only the people that know Dexter would get it. I can't say I'm from Miami, Florida, but I can say Iron Lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I would say I'm from Iron Lake, which is where, which is the town that he lives in the continuation. So that's something that just popped up in my head, but that's a cool little,
that's really cool.
Then, but it's good, man. I mean, the ending, as a Dexter fan, it's like, well, I wish they would have done more, but it was overall a decent season. So I would say finish it, but it's I don't know. I don't think it'll leave you like, raving or anything.
Right. There was another show that you brought up, and I think I agree with you on what you said, and that's Lucifer.
Yes.
I loved the first couple of seasons of it. And once Netflix took over, not so much. I mean, I finished it all the way through, but I do think that I don't know. It's like it wasn't as good anymore, but it was still a great show.
Yeah. Which is weird because, when it's picked up by Netflix, you would think like the chains are off.
Right.
It's like now you can really dive into these characters and there's no filler episodes. And I don't know, man. It's like, when I watch The Devil, I want to see the devil and I want to see him do devil things. And then Netflix, kind of we're spinning it nicely to where it's like, but he wants to be God, but he doesn't want to be the devil anymore. And it's like, no, man, like I'm enjoying it's the heel in me, man. Like I enjoy the early Lucifer to where he's like, trading favors and he's like showing the devil eyes and, that's what got me, man. And like the ending to the season to where, Chloe goes down and, the dude from Smallville is playing, Kane. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then he wraps the wings around her and it's like, man, that's one of the coolest endings in TV.
Yes.
And I don't know. I was disappointed. So
was that where it switched over to Netflix was right then? I'm not for sure.
I don't know. I don't know if it was that one or if it was the season after.
Okay.
But I mean, there's obviously a bunch of fans because, it was the fan support that got it revived.
Yes.
But I don't know, man. I kind of think that maybe they were ready to end it in the season to where they get the baby back and he goes full devil in the first Netflix season. And like, you see that for the first time.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, well, we're going to renew you. And they had to make some off the wall God script,
So. with the guy from Allstate.
Yeah. Pedro Serrano.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting choice. I mean, he did a good job playing the part, but I didn't expect them to choose him to play God. So
yeah, man. That's they should just pick Morgan Freeman. He's played God in multiple things.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he's obviously the best answer.
He's a believable God too, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. So I do want to kind of switch back over to wrestling just a little bit on here. I have a couple questions. Okay. What are some of your favorite matches?
Like personally, or stuff
yes.
like I've seen?
Personally, ones that you have been involved in.
Okay, so man, I would have to say my favorite match of all time up to now is Tommy Dean 2017 tables match at the WFC 7th anniversary.
Okay.
We got match of the year for that one. I'm really proud of that one. Me and JD have had many matches, but the one match we had that has a lot of memories is we had an opener in Locust Grove for the Hometown Heroes Championship, and we got a "This is awesome" chant immediately, and we ended up going over on time, and then we got to the back, and there was a little backstage commotion, so there was a cool story there, but we'll save that for a later round. And then we that was a fun one. Sam Stackhouse, the Summer Sizzler, we talked about that.
Yeah. Everyone
will always look at that viral spot, and it will get shared every year, and it will probably end up on Tosh.0, and like it will go there. Yeah. However, the match itself is phenomenal, and we had a really good match, and still to this day, I have never heard a bigger pop than what Sam got when he beat me that night, because he won and I was fired. And they drug me out of that building, kicking and screaming, to the point where fans hated me so much they were spitting and dumping soda on me. So it's like, that was like pinnacle heel for me. It's like, if you hate me so much, you want to throw your $5 soda on me. That's like I wear that as a badge of honor. So I love that. We had the comeback match we talked about with at the tag tournament that Tim talked me into doing.
Right.
We had a match with Tommy Dean and Wesley Crane, STF versus Haven.
Okay.
That match is on YouTube if anyone checks it out on WFC Prime. And I love that match. Jason Jones, believe it or not, I had a really good match with him. Funny story on that. Jason had some food the night before that didn't agree with him. Uh-oh. And the whole day he could not stay out of the bathroom. And he had to up until the start of the match, his old lady had to bring him some stuff, keep him from letting it out during the match.
Yeah.
And I was peak, I wouldn't say I was ready to be done, but I was definitely seeing the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And we didn't really go over anything. We just said, hey, let's go out there and just entertain the audience. And I remember the match before us got no reaction. And they came through the curtain and they were they're dead out there. And I remember just looking at them saying, not for long. And then as soon as I said, very cocky me was not for long. And then as soon as we got out there, man, I don't think I've ever had a match to where we didn't communicate hardly anything. And we held the audience literally in the palm of our hand, almost. I say literally, you get what I mean, figuratively. Right. We held them in the palm of our hand. And I feel like every move and every thing we did, they were hanging on. It was laughter, it was emotion, it was shock, and it was to the point where we had so many ups and downs and dips in there. Jason told me afterwards, he's like, dude, my students thought I was winning the WFC championship. He was he's and it was a no bill, just a random match, and we had them convinced. But man, those are all up there. I got to throw in there the Luke match, because if it's good enough for me to potentially be done on, then I'll take it. Yeah. I still say, and if Luke's listening, I've told him this, it was one spot away from being the perfect match. And we had a table spot on the outside where I was supposed to brain buster him through a table. And we stood on it outside before the show, no problem. But once we got in there, the minute I picked him up, it gave way and we both went down. So it was one spot away from being a perfect match. And then, of course, John Cross and I at UWE, main event. That was, that was, I was just proud of the crowd we drew for that match. And it was a great night, man. We crushed tons of McDonald's after that match. So it's a great memory. So I hope to add to that list, but off the top of my head, those are my favorites.
Okay. Yeah. And y'all actually inspired me to try to eat better with what you and Luke said on your show. You talking about, because you talked about that match and then you talked about food, and you had a whole little segment there where y'all just talked about cheeseburgers and stuff. And Yeah. For anybody who's trying to get in better shape, do you have any words of advice for them?
Man, I will say that, if you look, I'm not walking around washboards, so I'm not going to sit here and, try to, sell anyone anything or act crazy or anything. But I will say, like, I own a energy tea and nutrition shop, and I have for, multiple years. And, originally I lost, I was 308 pounds and I lost 65 pounds, just changing the way I ate. But it wasn't until this year that it's like over years, man, no matter how clean and how much weight you lose, so long ago, if you gain 10 pounds a year, no matter how active you are or how athletic you think you are, there's going to come a point to where you look in the mirror and you're like, yo, like, I'm not really living, what I'm doing here. It's like, just because I'm still drinking my shakes, my protein shakes, just because I'm still working out, just because I'm still, drinking my energy teas and drinking all my water. And that's all great. If I'm still eating 4,000 calories a day, it doesn't matter. It's just, I'm just putting good nutrition on top of shit pretty much.
Yeah.
And, so this year was just a realization for me, man. It was like January, I went to the doctor, weighed in, I was 298 pounds. It just slapped me in the face. I wasn't wrestling. I was basically retired. And I was like, well, no better time than now. So in January this year, I tried to just change my meal plan and diet. And, I was able to get down to about 260. About a month and a half, 2 months ago, I really started hitting the gym consistently. Now I'm weighing in at like 250. So it's like, I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm in, mentally, physically, in general. But if I was going to give that advice to anybody, it's just, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do.
Right.
Just be consistent in whatever you do. You know what I mean? Like, if your goal is to lose weight, like, well, put yourself in a calorie deficit. If you can't commit to eating super clean and working out 4 times a week, well, let's just start with eating super clean and walking 10,000 steps.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you just start doing that, and logging your food. Like, for people that, are serious about their food, like, if you document what you eat, you'll be shocked. And it's a lot. My Fitness Pal, I pay the subscription every month for it. John Cross turned me on it. I would say, talk to John about workouts, log your food on My Fitness Pal, figure out what your goal weight is, work for it, and find yourself a consistent groove and stick with it, and that worked for me. Maybe that doesn't work for you, but I'd love to holler at you if you want to hit me up.
Awesome. That'd be great. I need all the help I can get. So
yeah, man, dude, hit me up, man. I'll holler at you. I'll holler at whoever.
Awesome.
Like I said, I'm not sitting here like, I'm not the Rock or Zac Efron or anything like that. But hey, like, I've lost 60 pounds this year, and I'm pretty happy about it. So I'll tell what I do.
That's awesome. That's great. So switching back over to what we were talking about, we did your favorite matches. Who are some of your favorite opponents that you faced?
Tommy Dean for sure. I've wrestled him more than anybody, next to JD probably. And it's the point where he and I, like, and this is not being cocky. This is just, I really do believe that there's a lot of shows it could be me versus him, and we wouldn't talk at all in the back. And I think we could still go have match of the night, just because we know each other's styles and moves so much. Like, we could just call it and make it matter and make it make sense and make it have good psychology.
Right.
JD simply for story. As far as wrestling each other, I don't know if he or I are each other's favorites to wrestle at all. I know we like it, but he's 6'5", I'm 6'1". It's like, I'm a heavy guy. He's a heavier guy. It's like, you can't really do a lot of the cool stuff you could do to a smaller guy.
Right.
So they're always fun. Sam Stackhouse is fun to work in his own way.
Yeah.
Because he does so much crazy athletic stuff for a big guy. So it's always fun to be a part of those. But I've actually never really wrestled Tim, so I can't put him on the list. I had a really good match with Nathan Estrada in WFC back in the day. We had a really good one. It was actually his last match for a couple of years, I believe. But no, man, I mean, Tommy and JD probably take that list for sure.
Okay. And he's Nathan Estrada. He's training now, isn't he?
He has his own training center. Yeah. I don't exactly know the nights or times or anything. I haven't talked to him in a bit, but but no, I mean, we had a good match at WFC, and he's doing his own thing, and more power to him.
Right on. So do you have any dream matches that you would maybe want to see before these 2 years are up?
Oh, let's see. I need to have the match with Tim eventually because there's 10 years of story there. And I think it could, from a storytelling wise, it could mean a whole lot. I want to wrestle a couple of these young guys. I'd like to get a one-on-one with Wes. Let's see. I would really like to get a one-on-one with EC3. We wrestled him in a 8-man, and he and I talked online. We DM'd a little bit and talked some control your narrative stuff. And I did a really good promo class with him that he gave me a really good review on. Okay. And I just kind of feel like that, if I can get in there with him one-on-one, maybe it wouldn't be the dream match like people want, but it'd be a cool little resume thing. I would love to wrestle Trevor Murdoch again because I wrestled him when I was really young, and I think I'm a lot better now, and I'd like to kind of, get that back. Yeah. And then other than that, maybe I've wrestled Fuego del Sol, but I'd like to have maybe a one-on-one with him with his current status and how I've progressed. I'd like to, kind of test my worth against him. And the other one would be Barrett Brown, but I got that under my belt at the show just a month and a half ago at Tulsa. So that was fun.
Right on. So I've got just a few more questions here, and then we're going to get you off of here. But do you have anything that's coming up that maybe you want to talk about?
Oh, well, man, it's Christmas time, bro. I mean, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I don't know when this is going to drop, but Christmas is definitely my favorite holiday. I think, it gives people a built-in excuse to be, quality humans. And I'm big into gift giving. It's a big thing of mine. And, that's instilled in me from, when I was a kid. At the end of the Blitz pod, that's going to drop on when this microphone hits my mouth. I actually was driving home from Wagner, and I was like, you know what? I just want to talk, and I just want to talk just me and tell Christmas stories. And really in that podcast and me talking to the audience, I kind of had unveiled, stuff that I never really talked about, like the fact that, I kind of found out that, when my mom passed away when I was 14, and her favorite thing Christmas was gift giving and was, passing things on and making other people happy. And I've always been a fan of gift giving, and that's obviously where I get it from. So it's like, this is a good time of year for me, man. You get to surround yourself with family, you get to give gifts, you get to have fun. Right. It's a month to a month and a half out of a, 12-month calendar year that the world kind of changes. And I think that's what I like about it. The music's different. The clothes are different. The food's different. The ambiance is different. There's lights. It's just, and I understand Christmas has its own specific meaning, but dude, I love all of it, man. I'm all about it.
Yeah. That's cool. That's kind of like it is in our house. So last year we had 6 Christmas trees up in our house.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
This year it's only 4 because both of my kids decided they didn't want Christmas trees up in their bedrooms.
You say only 4, that's a low amount.
Well, I mean, for our house, it is. My son's birthday is on the 20th of December, and my wife's is on the 24th of December. So,
oh, wow.
You would think they'd be sick of Christmas, but they love it more than me and my daughter, because me and my daughter are both born in the summer, and if it was up to my son and my wife, they would have the Christmas trees up in September, so
it's so cool, man.
But Christmas is a big part of our house. We love it so much.
I'm very much like a Mick Foley, to where I get rich and famous, I'll definitely have a Christmas room like he has.
Yeah,
it's my jam.
Just go sit in there and just have a day of Christmas. Yeah.
Why not, man? Just do your thing, bro.
So if people want to follow you, how can they do that?
Man, check me out on my fan page, the Showcase Alex Royal on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm at Showcase 91. You can check me there. There's a lot of really cool clips on there from a lot of matches that I've referenced on here. Okay. Check out my podcast, that When This Microphone Hits My Mouth, with Alex Royal. I try to drop a new episode every single Friday. Actually, part 2 of the JD pod dropped this Friday, and I truly believe that part 2 is the best podcast I've done since starting this. So this is a really good episode, and then it's only followed up by a couple of really good bangers. I got John Cross on there. We went, almost 2 hours of just, nonstop, just talk. And then the Blitz pod is just put on a seatbelt, man, because it's going to be crazy. It's backstage wrestling show, person to person. Sounds bad, some of the sound is staticky, some of the sound is outside. Like, it's just for fun, man. Just it's going to be a crazy one. But yeah, check me out on all those.
That's cool. And when does the Blitz one air?
So I got JD dropping this Friday, the 20. So this Friday will be the 16th, and then next Friday will be John's on the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
So the Blitz will drop on the 30th, and then I think either we'll get JD part. Depends on availability. We'll either get JD part 3 because it's a little easier to pod with him than anybody, or I do have one lined up with Sam Stackhouse, and I have one lined up with Riker. So those are just depends like which one's going to be after that.
Right on. All right, man. And do you have any last words that you want to say to your fans?
Man, I just appreciate you getting me on the podcast. I appreciate you throwing my advertisements in there. And, to all the fans, when I say things like, I'm on an expiration date, it's like, that's strictly because I just want to come back and just want to give something different. You know what I mean? Like, I hope all the fans just at least know that every time, I wouldn't say I lace my boots because my boots are Velcro, but every time I Velcro those boots up, man, it's like, not to be cliche, but I truly do want to give money's worth. Like, I pride myself on, from promo to presentation to in-ring work, truly being like price of admission. And I believe that. And I do believe that in no nights off when it comes to wrestling. So, I mean, I just hope the fans are like, yo, you see me for 5 minutes or you see me for 20, like you're getting the best version of me. So appreciate the support and, appreciate you getting me on the podcast, man.
All right, man. Well, I hope that you have a great night, and I can't wait to hear more of your episodes, and I can't wait to actually see you wrestle in person.
Yeah, man, I got to get you a ticket eventually. We'll pick out a good one.
All right, sounds good. You have a good night.
Take care, man.
All right.
What's up, everybody? This is the Showcase, Alex Royal, brand new host of When This Microphone Hits My Mouth. You get the idea. We're going to be bringing you guys new episodes every single week, keeping the same popular style format that we had on What Can You Offer, my other podcast with John Cross. Be sure to check that one out because every once in a while you might see another special episode, and you never know, John might cameo on this one every once in a while. But we're going to bring you unique perspectives on all things Oklahoma wrestling, pop culture, entertainment, podcast, and really, honestly, just anything that pops up. We're just going to have a free-for-all, have conversations, have guests, and have a grand old time. So be sure to check us out every single week. The goal is to have a new episode drop every single Friday, so you, yourself, your friends, and everybody else listening to this right here can check us out. Be sure to check back.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Dawn.
And if you've ever watched a TV show and thought to yourself, oh my god, that season finale plot twist was absolutely bonkers.
Or seen a movie and thought, wow, I need to talk to somebody about this train wreck immediately.
Then we think you'll fit right in with our podcast, I Hate It, Let's Watch It. We watch TV shows like Riverdale and Emily in Paris.
And movies like Deep Water, Killer Sofa, Rubber, and Deadly Illusions. And we give them the total rinsing they deserve.
It's basically group therapy for movie masochists. So come check us out wherever you stream podcasts.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that episode with Alex Royal. He was an amazing guest to have on the show. I had a lot of fun talking with him. And he also runs his own podcast as well, as you know from listening to this episode. And I've really enjoyed kind of picking his brain and talking to him about podcasting in general. And I hope to have him on again in the future. I can't wait to see what happens. He has a really cool program that's going on right now in WFC, and I can't wait to see where that goes in the future as well. So I have some pretty cool guests that will be coming on this month. I have Alan Smith, who is a writer. He has written a book that brings about awareness when it comes to human trafficking and things like that. So next week's episode will be a fairly serious episode, but I believe that it's important that we bring light to these tragic things that happen, and that we are aware of our surroundings and things that are going on around us as well. So I am excited to have him on to talk about his book. The week following that, I will have on Wayne Ledoux. He is a marketing major. And he helps out a lot of businesses to bring up their products and get their product out there to people. And he's going to come on here and kind of talk to us about that and talk about what he does in his business as well. And I'm very excited. This is somebody who was brought to me by another guest that I've had on the show. So I'm very excited to talk with him. The week following that, I will have on Nathaniel Grayson. He is a wrestler out of the Texas area. He's also wrestled with the Ozark Mountain Wrestling with the Grayson family. And so I am excited to have him on. I've gotten to talk to him over Twitter and a couple of different other places as well. And he seems like a really cool guy. And I can't wait to talk with him. I'm also going to have on a Southern rock singer. He is a lot of energy, and it seems like a really cool guy, and that is Andy Ross. You might know him from Instagram. He is all over the place on there, and I can't wait for you guys to hear that. And then at the end of the month, like I told you last week, I will be having on a ex-WWE writer. He's been part of some of the skits that they have on WWE. He's also a comedian. He's all over TikTok. He's been everywhere. He's been on different comedy sketch acts and things like that. And I'm very excited to have on Matt McCarthy at the end of the month. So I do have some really cool guests that are coming up, and I can't wait for you guys to hear those episodes when they do come up. So if you guys would like to follow me online, you can do so by following me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or Hive. I'm on all of these places, and you can look me up. I am If You Give a Data Podcast on all of those places. The handle might be a little different in some of them. On Facebook, it is at IYGADAP. On Instagram, it is at Give a Data Podcast. On Hive and Twitter, it is at DadPodcast11. You can also send me an email if you would like to do so, and that is giveadatapodcast@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you guys. I have heard from a few of you already, and it always brightens my day to get to hear from you guys. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say next. Just hit me up. Don't be shy. Come out and say hi. If you're listening to this right now, if you like this episode, or if you don't like this episode, then I want you to go out and rate it and review it. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like about it. Tell me what you don't. If you're on Spotify, you can go up, give me a 1 to a 5-star rating. Same with iTunes. You can go on there and you can give me a 1 to a 5-star rating, and you can even leave a comment as well. Same with Podbean. You can like it or dislike it, and you can leave a comment on the episode and tell me what you think. I love to hear from you guys, and I want to know what you guys think. So there is something that I have been setting on for a while now, and I can't hold it in any longer. At the end of this episode, you will hear something new. So a few months ago in July, I had on a hip-hop artist, and his name was D-Cure. He has made lots and lots of albums. In fact, one of his albums at the end of 2022 hit the top 20 chart on iTunes for hip-hop artists. Well, he has done me something awesome. He's created a new outro song for my show, and I will be able to play that for you here today. So whenever I say goodbye, stick around so you can hear this that he came up with for me, and I am very excited to present that to you guys. I couldn't wait to tell you. So like I said, wait till the very end and hear that song. It will be what you hear whenever I say I love you guys at the end every time now. And I hope that you guys enjoy it. It was a lot of fun working back and forth with him to get this worked out, to get what I was wanting. And he was really understanding, and he's a great guy. And I do look forward to having him back on the show again, probably this year. I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, R&L Designs. They have been awesome sticking by my side. Like I said, they will be making coffee mugs with my mug on there here pretty soon, along with my opening phrase of hello all my beautiful people. So if you guys would like that, they will be selling those soon. As soon as they are available, I will let you know. You can also find t-shirts for me on Shirtcasters. I will have links to all of this stuff in my show notes, and I will have links to it on my social media pages as well. Also want to give a shout out to OIW Podcast Network. They have been awesome at making me feel like one of the guys. They are great at helping to advertise my stuff and to give me great ideas for new guests and things like that. They have helped me find guests that are a little outside of my area. So just want to say thank you to those guys for inviting me to be part of their podcast family. So I am going to bring this episode to a close, and this is the part where I told you that it's going to be coming in. So I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
On. He calls us beautiful people, then tells us who we have on. The best part of my day, the world blocked out in my pods. Tell my friends all about it so that they follow along. And the host is kinda nerdy, but guess what, I am as well. I don't feel so alone, and I began walking out of my shell. Heard a story, I needed connection I haven't felt. I'll be looking for the next one, till then farewell. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. Listen closely, download and tune in remotely. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. And listen closely, download and tune in remotely.
This podcast is part of the OIW Podcasting Network.